So it's Jeff Hosking from RSA, Major Damage Claims Manager for the UK. I've just done a session on economic loss. Took the opportunity to share with people how economic loss arises in an insurance context and also a non-insurance context, how it's been affected by case law. We took them through different cases and how, when the courts made a decision, that's led to a change in the insurance provision and in the demands of customers, how as an industry we've responded to that. We then thought it was useful to explain to people that you contract a liability, so you don't automatically have it, you choose to take it on. It's quite different to some other areas, and to explain how some of that can happen. And then also to look at how people can avoid it. So we did a couple of case studies with people, gave them the option of talking to one another, which worked really well. People got very engaged in having a chat with one another and deciding whether they thought something would or wouldn't be payable. And from that, hopefully they've been able to take away a couple of ideas from themselves about how they can restrict their legal liability when they're signing up to contracts. And then we finished that off with looking at how the policies are put together where you do have insurance, and in particular what would influence an underwriter. So what kind of information you as a risk manager could provide to an underwriter through a broker or direct to be able to say, this is what I do, this is the risk I face, help me to manage that risk. It's really good questions from people. People wanting to know how could they restrict their liability. Some very specific examples from people saying, well, I've got this situation and I'm being asked. So one of the examples was, I'm being asked to be responsible for losses not just that my customers might incur, but that their customers in turn might incur. How do I make sure that I don't open myself up to a really wide range of claims that I was never expecting? And we were able to talk about that. I guess the key thing we're trying to get across to people is that they can be in control of these. They can determine for themselves what they want to take on by way of responsibility, and they can find ways to restrict that. And we finished off just explaining that it can be quite a complex area for people, and sometimes you maybe need that additional bit of help from insurers and some of their legal partners. Just look at you with the way you contract and to say, right, what do you actually say? How does that compare to what happens in reality? Quite often you find that the emails that people send, or the phone calls they've had, or the separate letter they sent has changed the whole basis of a contract. So we're able to look at that and explain to them how they can do some things around that, just as a risk management technique really, to try and improve the risk that they face. But yeah, it's a really good session, full room of people, all seemed happy and engaged. Lots of people want some more information after it, so a well spent hour and a half.